In this section, we're going to look at resistance to social influence. We're going to consider how individuals are able to resist the pressure to conform or obey. Our explanations will be divided, as we've done already, into situational factors and dispositional factors. Resisting the pressure to conform. The key term here on the specification is social support, i.e., how the actions of others influence our ability to resist the pressure to conform. Firstly, we'll consider situational factors. The role of nonconformist allies. From the work of Ash, we can see that another dissenter, somebody not going along with the expectations, in this case conforming, provides social support to an individual by breaking the unanimity of the majority. In other words, the majority is no longer unanimous. In terms of normative social influence, the nonconformist ally demonstrates that alternative standpoints are acceptable. In terms of informational social influence, this can act to make an individual feel more confident in their own decision making. From Ash's research, where he looked at variations with a nonconformist ally, we can see three main findings. Firstly, the presence of a nonconformist ally reduces the level of conformity. Secondly, nonconformist allies create this effect even if they give a different wrong answer. They don't have to be in line with the individual. Thirdly, if the non-conforming ally starts to conform again, so does the individual participant. Other research. Allen and Levine, 1971, replicated the original Ash study, with one of the Confederates acting as a non-conforming ally. They gave a deliberately incorrect answer that was different from the majority. In one condition, this ally wore thick glasses. In another, they wore no glasses. The idea here was to manipulate the validity of the nonconformist as a judge of line length. The results demonstrated a reduction in conformity in both conditions, but this was greater in the condition of higher validity. In other words, the one where the non-conforming ally didn't wear glasses. Now let's look at dispositional explanations of the ability to resist the pressure to conform. Specifically, the syllabus requires we consider the notion of locus of control. Julian Rotter, 1966, proposed a personality dimension called locus of control, concerning where people saw the source of control in their lives. At one extreme, we have internals. These people believe they are the source of the control and they are responsible for the outcomes in their lives. So they would say things like, I did well because I worked hard. At the other extreme are externals. They see control is outside of them and rests with powerful individuals or forces. So they'd say things like, I did badly because O'Grady's rubbish. It's important that we understand that these are not types. Locus of control is a continuum. We all fit somewhere along the dimension, and that position may change because of the specific situation we're in. There are three specific characteristics of high internals that help us understand their ability to resist social pressure. Firstly, they are active seekers of information that is useful to them. Therefore, they're less likely to rely on the opinion of others. This should make them better able to resist the pressures of informational social influence. Secondly, high internals tend to be more achievement-oriented. They are more likely to become leaders and entrepreneurs. And thirdly, high internals seem better able to resist coercion. Resisting the pressure to obey. Again, first let's consider situational factors. Even though the focus of the way we've considered Milgram is obedience of participants, many, including Zimbardo, say we should be more focused on the situational conditions under which people feel able to resist an authority figure. These include Loss of status or authority. We can see this in the Milgram variation, where they moved from Yale University to a rundown office block. Lack of buffers. We can see this in the variations where participants were in the same room and able to see the learner being shocked. And most importantly for us, social support. This is where there are other dissenting or disobedient allies. Milgram found that when he included one or more other teachers who were in fact experimental confederates, when they refused to continue, obedience rates in the actual participant fell from 65% to around 10%. Even though the participant may not do the same as the disobedient ally, the ally's behaviour acts as a model and helps to free the participant to act in line with their own conscience. Dispositional factors. Again, we're looking at locus of control. Let's remind ourselves of the features of internal locus of control that are most important. Firstly, they are active seekers of information. Secondly, they are achievement oriented. And thirdly, they're better able to resist coercion. We can see how they might find it easier to resist the pressure to obey looking at these. For example, being achievement oriented and seeing themselves as leaders, they will perceive themselves as legitimate authority and find it harder to see this in other people. They also feel less need for social approval. Evaluation. One strength of social support as an explanation of resisting social pressure to conform is there is research evidence to support it. Ash demonstrated that conformity levels dropped if there was a non-conformist ally. This was true even if the non-conformist ally gave a different incorrect answer. Allen and Levine's 1971 variation, in which the validity of this ally as a source of information was manipulated by giving them thick glasses in the line length judging task, found the same effect. This implies that the participant is not just motivated to follow someone else, but breaking the unanimity of the majority frees them from the pressure of the social group. One strength of social support as an explanation of resisting the social pressure to obey is there is research evidence to support it. In addition to Milgram's variations with a disobedient ally, Gamson et al. 1982 found even higher levels of disobedience, 88%, when the participants were working in groups to produce information that could be used in a smear campaign by an oil company. However, we should consider the extent to which these two studies are comparable. For example, the Gamson study does not require the direct administering of physical harm to another individual, as the Milgram study does. One strength of locus of control as a dispositional explanation of the ability to resist social pressure is there is research evidence to support it. This evidence suggests that internals are better able to resist the pressure of social influence. For example, Holland 1967 replicated the original Milgram study and then analysed the results considering the locus of control of the participants. The findings were that 37% of internals didn't continue to the highest shock, but only 23% of externals didn't continue. This adds validity to the idea that those with an internal locus of control are better able to resist the pressure to obey. One limitation of locus of control as a dispositional explanation of the ability to resist social pressure is that there are alternative explanations which may be more appropriate. For example, Nail et al. 2000 proposed a nonconformist personality. These people may respond with independence because they are unconcerned with social norms. Now, this might be because, firstly, they are not aware of the social norms, or secondly, they're indifferent to them, they do know what they are but they don't care, or thirdly, they intentionally choose to oppose them. In other words, they have an anti-conformist orientation. None of this requires us to consider locus of control as an explanation, and therefore implies that locus of control is at least oversimplistic as an explanation of the resistance of social pressure.